welcome to today's session. When I first started in IT, I did application development, and there was nothing more frustrating than spending a bunch of time developing a new application only to have it be implemented and then run slowly, because the feedback in those situations is very negative. And what can happen that's also frustrating is that you ask, the different teams, well, where's the problem? And nobody seems to really be able to pinpoint. You might see a situation where the storage administrator says, well, we're running at so many IOs per second, and the throughput is just through the roof. It couldn't possibly be storage. And then the DBA says, well, the top 10 is running just like it was yesterday. I don't think it's the database. The Java administrator takes a look and they were like, well, garbage collections aren't running bad. I really doubt it's Java. So each of those, intelligent, well-intended people was unable to answer, the basic questions. Is an end user having a problem? Who is it? What transaction are they trying to execute? And so that's the reason I would like you to consider why you might want to look at an end-to-end APM solution. And IDERA's product line offers a very nice way to kind of solve this problem and provide appropriate visibility to your IT team. Performance problems are constantly cropping up. Who hasn't heard the complaint, our system is running slowly right now? The other side of it is more from a business perspective. I often listen to CNBC and Jim Cramer, and even pizza companies are portraying themselves as technology companies these days. And I guess that they are, being that you can order a pizza and select what toppings you like via an application. And of course, for the business itself, making sure that that order is placed quickly and properly is vital to the business. Now, these technologies, or even a simple application stack, can involve multiple technologies, numerous end users. So answering that question about who, what, when, where isn't trivial. But one of the things that's very nice is the browser connects to the network connects to the web server, to the business logic tier, finally to the system of record, which is dependent upon storage. So you have this tier-to-tier connection, and if you can measure, who's executing what transaction, what is the timing at each of these steps, you're a long way to answering who, what, when. Another way of looking at this, and this is kind of what we typically see for shops that don't have Precise, is an end user tried to do something. The intelligent, well-intended people in IT are unaware until the end user self-reports, and then typically this will kick off a very expensive, time-consuming, ultimately frustrating and unproductive situation where people look at the application, but they're only looking at a subset at a time. And that makes it very difficult to kind of answer those questions about who, what, when, where, and why. And this can actually be, very time consuming to kind of know what's going on. Everybody that we talk to has tools, but what they don't have is context. And context is the secret sauce that allows people who are using Precise to succeed and make it very easy to answer those important questions. What we do is we track the end user's transaction, including what's happening in their browser, rendering time, page component time, JavaScript time, into the network, into the business logic tier, including .NET, e-business suite, PeopleSoft, SAP, and Siebel, down into the database, including Oracle, SQL Server, Sybase, and DB2. We actually cover all storage vendors. And we capture this information from real production transactions. So this is real user management that we're talking about. And that information is loaded into a historic repository that we call the Performance Management Database. And this becomes a single sheet of music for everybody within IT to measure and be able to discern very quickly what's going on. Now, another way to cover this is to say which transactions, how much time, so that tells you who's breaking an SLA. Segmenting it by technology allows us to do a deep dive so it can reveal underlying code that's not executing efficiently, whether it's a method class, a JDBC call, an individual SQL statement, or maybe all the way down into storage. And so Precise reveals from click to disk. We have an alerting mechanism to notify people, and we have trend alerts. That's your early warning system. And then there is a portal to share information with other teams. Just as a quick review of our functionality, is we are designed for production monitoring of real transactions, real end user experience. Precise is fairly easy to configure. We have an installation wizard that drives an installation. Precise automatically discovers the transactions. You don't have to go through and set them up or something. Whatever they do, we're able to follow them into the database. The database is the system of record. Every significant business transaction interacts with the system of record. Therefore, knowing what's happening on the database is vitally important. Unlike other tools in the marketplace, Precise is able to measure on a sub-second basis what the SQL statements are doing. So for your online transaction processes, they are typified by low latency, high throughput. Precise is going to shine. Furthermore, Precise is going to connect the dots so the DBA can see exactly what's happening. And this is going to be vital for delivering the very best performance possible to the end user community. Let's shift gears and take a look at the Precise GUI. What can kick off the investigation is actually an alert that's come in via email, and I open up that alert and it's told me that I've got a problem with users and locations. So I've got Bruce Collins, oh, that rascal, we know about him, operating from Austin, Texas. And so this would kick off our deep dive into Precise to find out exactly what's going on, and better yet, how to solve the problem. We open up Precise, and on the left-hand side, it shows us the transactions in descending order. Over here, it shows us the overtime. So the x-axis is wall clock time, the y-axis is average response time, and it's segmented into application tiers: browser, network, web server, business logic, database, and then web service calls to other systems. There's actually service level agreements that we can set as well. We open up Precise to users, and Precise is actually able to capture the real user ID. So I got that alert on Bruce Collins. I focus on him. I can see that he had activity right at 8 o'clock on August the 3rd. I can reveal the transactions that he was attempting to execute, and I can see here the checking transaction was taking nearly 2 seconds to execute. One thing about capturing the end user ID is it's not just about the hardware and the software and the configuration, it's also about how the end users are using the system. And so rather than always depend upon the end users to call you when there's a problem, with Precise, you can actually call the end user, and this might actually spot a particular end user who needs a little help, a little training, maybe a new hire, or maybe somebody who has a new job function, or maybe somebody needs help writing a report properly. The checking transaction is the top. You can see over here that that transaction is the number one transaction during this time frame, and I can actually unfold the transaction and I can follow it just like the real transaction traverse my system, including a web service call from one WebLogic instance down to another. And I can in turn reveal the individual SQL statements that were submitted by the checking transaction. Highlighting the top SQL statement, I can also reveal that this SQL statement was not just impacting Bruce, but all of these end users and had very poor performance really across the board. The Highlights tab shows me the overtime for that particular SQL statement, and there's also an Analyze button where I can jump from the transaction view into the database expert view in context of this SQL statement, which will allow the DBA to know exactly what the problem is. And this is our secret sauce. This is providing context. The other crucial differentiator for Precise is that our competitors give you a little bit of an idea of what's happening in the database, but Precise is highly granular. It can show the execution states, will actually make recommendations. So our solution is far stronger in the database tier than the competitors. Precise brings me automatically in where I can focus in on that SQL statement, and I can see what did that SQL statement do while it was executing. And you can see it's in these different wait states. It had to wait on including the storage subsystem, so clearly this is suboptimal. Clicking on the Tune button brings me into this workspace where I can focus in on the resource consumption of an individual SQL statement. I have the execution plan, and I can actually step through it step by step. What did it do? What objects were being accessed? I can see the syntax of the SQL statement, and down here there's a findings report for this individual SQL statement. It's telling me I'm doing heavy parallel coordination. I actually have multiple execution plans. This is really killer as it tells me that I've hit a processing ceiling within Oracle. There's no parallel processes left. Now let's suppose I'm not familiar with that. I click the Learn More, and Precise opens up this screen that brings me to a library of information and advice about that particular problem. And so I can, oh, look what's going on here. I can increase the number of max parallel servers to accommodate the processing that's happening on my server. Over on the left-hand side, you could see our library of context-appropriate findings with expert advice, and it was written by an Oracle Oak Table member. And so this is patent advice on solving and improving performance within Oracle. So just as a quick recap, we got an alert from Precise. They told us that Bruce Collins was having a problem. We investigated and we saw that the problem happened at 8 o'clock. It was with the checking transaction. We analyzed the checking transaction, found out a problematic SQL statement. We went into the expert view where Precise told us that we had hit a contention issue in that there weren't enough parallel processes during that processing window, and Precise told us how to fix the problem. One of the values of Precise isn't just optimizing systems, it's also when problems do crop up, solving them quickly. So minimizing mean time to resolution is a prime business value for the Precise solution. Precise offers a number of bells and whistles that might be of interest. One of the things we offer is dashboards. And so here's our real user management dashboard that shows the top transactions over time graph, as well as a review of individual end users and performance by location. If this interests you, please go to the IDERA website, go to Products, Precise. That'll bring up the Precise Application Performance Platform. Click See It in Action. Please provide your contact information, and we will schedule a deep dive session where we can share with you additional information about this very powerful solution for application performance management. Thank you very much.